Welcome to Liner Notes. My name is Emily Ann Peterson, and I'm a songwriter, amongst other things. And we have Mackenzie Spear with us today. And Mackenzie is my secret weapon. And she and I met in Nashville when I moved to Nashville because I'm in this amazing Facebook group filled with all these amazing Nashville music ladies. And I just posted in there one day that I think I posted in there. I think it was I was posting, or maybe I've voyeured and crept up on someone else's post. That might
I
have.
might have even posted. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'll occasionally post if I have some time in my schedule and
Yeah.
try to
I
find
don't know.
people to work with.
Something magical happened one day with Facebook and networking and how that stuff works. Um, and before you knew it, Mackenzie and I were sharing a bowl of pho, talking about music.
We were. That was delicious.
It was. And I, before we started recording this, I was telling Mackenzie that I, like, before I started looking for an audio engineer or before a mixing engineer for this album, I had looked at the whole lineup of Covered in Clover, this album, and saw that there were there was myself and a whole bunch of dudes and Alina Toe, who's a violinist, and that's about it for and Lacey Brown was drums as well. And so there's three of us girls, and then everyone else was dudes. And there was still this very unbalanced gender lineup on this album. And so when I saw that Mackenzie did really good work, I reached out to her and asked her if she'd be willing to work on this project. And she said yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad I did.
I well, I'm glad you did. I so I have some questions for you. So when you were not you were not always interested in audio stuff specifically, is that correct?
Sort of. So I started as a musician
Mhm.
personally, playing trumpet and um ukulele and a little bit of keyboard and singing. So I started as a musician and I'm a songwriter myself as well. So basically, I got into recording because I was like, I can record myself and this is great. And I can all the production things I think in my head, I can put them on a recording and yeah. So I kind of started, that's kind of how I found um, audio engineering. And then I'm like, oh, I can make money doing it for other people. That's cool. like um so yeah, I kind of got into more of the audio side of things because you gotta make money. But I enjoy it too.
Well, and I will say that when you told me when we first met that you played trumpet, my little spidey senses started going off because I knew this album had a ton of horns, and I was like, oh, this girl's gonna know.
Yeah, and I've been in ensembles, so like since I started playing trumpet, since I was 11 or something. So just understanding balance and um very much this record to me felt like I was a conductor. Like I was conducting, the strings and the horns and you know, and then traditionally you had bass and guitar and drums and stuff and vocals. Um but yeah, it felt like I was conducting, here comes this part. Now you bring in and then you kind of it was cool. Yeah. I don't always get a lot of string stuff or horn stuff, and that's I mean, honestly, my background.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was exciting to me to actually get to do more than just like the regular drums, bass, guitar, piano thing. So
Mhm, mhm. Well, and you it was really fun working with you in that sense. I was a little bit nervous after work, like, because for those of you who don't know what like the mixing process looks like, it's very different depending on who you're working with.
yeah.
Um, and because I hadn't worked with Mackenzie before, I was still a little bit like, oh, I don't know. Here we go. Here it goes.
Here goes
Um,
nothing.
here goes all of these songs that I've been working on for
Yeah.
forever, and like
Right.
I'm so ready to have them done, but also I want them to sound really good. And but she knows all the doodads and things to buttons and knobs to turn that I don't
Right.
know how to turn. So she's still an expert. And so it definitely was like, here you go.
Yeah, it's like here's my little baby. Like hopefully it comes out good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally
Um,
get that.
but the process was really fun. And everybody, like, how would you describe the mixing process to somebody who's not familiar with what it's like to make an album?
Yeah, so the mix engineer essentially, I like to compare it to food because who doesn't understand food and love food, right? So, mixing is sort of like if you were to take all these ingredients um, and put them all in a bowl together and mix it up, right? And then you end up baking it or whatever you do with it, and it becomes this beautiful, amazing tasting thing. Mixing is very similar in that sense. I take all of the elements uh, and I mix them in my little bowl together, and it comes out balanced and clear sounding, and the things that are important to hear, they're heard, and all that. So I compare mixing to food because people really understand food and cooking in that process.
Well,
Um,
you can definitely have too much onion in.
yeah, you can. Like you can have too much guitar, right? Or you can have too much yeah, you can always have too much bass, you can always have too much onion, or you can always have too much spice. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah,
it's like finding a good balance that both I'm cool with and mostly the artist is cool with because it's their project. Like if they like guitar like freaking louder than anything else, to each their own. But yeah, it's also kind of getting it to their taste in a way too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's when so Mackenzie basically gave me back this rough draft of, like, not even a rough draft. It was a very good sounding mix.
Yeah.
And I listened to it and I had like some notes. And then because it was my first studio length album and first time to go through this, I had no idea like what I was supposed to have been listening for. So I had like three friends who I trusted with like my life. And I said, here's this link. Please take a minute, like not even a minute. Please take an hour to sit down with some headphones and listen to it with a notepad. And they did so dutifully and gave me their thoughts. And it was really fascinating because, um, one person came back and said, oh, the vocals are too loud. And then another person would come back and say, oh, turn the vocals up. And so
Yeah, isn't that yeah, that
it's
whole finding a balance of what everybody has a preference, and mixing can be hard because it's like what I think sounds good.
mm-hmm,
Somebody else might think it needs more of what I don't think it needs more of. or less of what I think it needs less of. So
Well,
yeah, it
but
makes
what I found
me
really
like,
interesting about having had like, like years of experience of receiving feedback from either a classical environment or songwriting
mm,
critique circles or um, just life in general, like critique in general. Um, one, you can't please everyone. And two,
no, yeah,
if you have differing opinions from two different people, most often that means you're just fine just the way you are.
sure, yeah,
And
yeah,
so that was kind of the
um,
way that I was kind of taking some of their feedback or some of their notes on that first mix was like,
right,
the vocals are too loud, the vocals are too soft. It was like, oh no, that means the vocals are probably right where they should be.
right.
So but I found that to be really interesting process to go through. So yeah, it was great working. It was really fun working with you. Um, yeah. So, what other projects have you worked on? Give
Mhm.
us your list, your list of faves, and
My
then
list.
let's talk about what's happening this summer.
Yeah. So when I moved down here, I happened to run in
And down here is
Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah. Down here because I'm from Michigan. Uh, but when I moved, I was skateboarding around my neighborhood, right? And I met a big idol of mine, who I've probably been following since I was like probably 15 or something. Katie Herzig. She was just walking down the street, right? So I was like, yo, like I'm a fan of your work, like big time. And we kind of got talking, and I was pretty new to town. Like I think I was like probably like a month or two in like living in Nashville, and I met her and I was like, whoa, like this is sweet. But I just like asked, hey, can I like have your sessions and like mix them? And she was like, of course. Like, and it was like more for me to practice on, because she had already been getting them mixed um, by various people. But yeah, she heard some of the stuff I had previously done, and then she's like, yeah, you can, like, it's no harm, you know, and you like having these. So I got a few sessions of her latest album, and I was able to mess around with them and mix them, and then like send them back to her and see what she thought and
Now,
everything.
what was that process like? Because that feels kind of like a different side of that whole like, here's my baby situation.
Right. Um, the process was interesting. She has a lot of production happening in her songs, like over 150 tracks. So, I mean, that can be just intense to look at and mix, but um, how I would do that would be like I would mix in various like background vocals and kind of group them together, and then when I was happy with the levels, I would print that, which can be scary to commit, but um, especially with the digital age, there's so much that you don't have to commit to because you can always undo it or take things off or go back to how it was. But yeah, I would send them back to her, and like she would be like, wow, that's so much different than, like, she wouldn't send me the one that had been mixed, right? So I got to like do my own thing and like not be influenced by um what it was going to be, or try to make it that, which was, I think, kind of her way of like getting me to like carve my own path in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were different. Like I approached it differently than her actual mix engineer. Like I tend to use a lot of reverbs and delays on the vocals and stuff like that. And they did more like really reverbed out like uke in one song, and I like didn't do that. It was interesting how different like mix engineers approach different things. But yeah, so I got to
It's very, I
discover.
mean, to go back to your like food analogy, it's very similar to how like you can have the same cookie dough recipe,
Yeah,
and it's
right,
literally the same exact recipe. And if it's, Mrs. Smith's, like Kevin's mom who makes the same cookies, it's going to be a different batch of
right,
cookies that comes out, you know,
right. It's so
your own
interesting.
mom that makes the cookies, so
Right,
it's really fascinating because you have like a different oven that like
right,
makes the heat
different,
work a
right,
different way.
different heat. Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, it's interesting. But she liked them. She definitely liked them. But yeah, so there was a little bit there. I'm not able to release those because she already has, and
right.
yeah, they're not my mixes to
Mhm,
release. But I do share that with um people that I like work with. I have a private playlist that I often send to people so that I'm not doing anything bad by releasing artist songs that aren't approved to release by me
mhm.
publicly. So, um, and I also got to go on tour with her doing live sound last July, which was like totally a dream come true. So that was cool.
Well, and live sound is a totally different ball game than like studio stuff or mixing.
Yeah, totally. I like to tell people forget everything you know about studio because it's like pretty much a free for all. Like live sound is so different. Um, I mean, you're dealing with feedback issues. If you have stage monitors, um, that'll happen. And then there's just like every room has a different sort of frequency that seems to be more or less than others. And I mean, I could get into the science of that, but I'm not going to bore people. um, but yeah, live sound, it's like you're fighting a space that's not meant to be having like music in it, really. Like a lot of venues aren't even treated. And so it's like I'm fighting that.
Yeah.
Um,
At
which
the
can be
risk
more
of sounding
difficult. We're
like
like,
at the risk of sounding like just another white person, I'm going to say that I heard a TED talk about about the how architecture has influenced technology and audio technology, and how our
oh,
instrument
definitely. Yeah.
and vice versa, and how like our instruments have influenced our architecture as well, um,
Yeah.
which is
I
really
mean, yeah,
fascinating
totally.
when we think about live
Yeah.
sound.
I mean, even like being a musician and playing in a room that like gives you, I don't know, something back. Like I get that. But yeah, audio stuff is definitely like very influenced by, I mean, they make emulations of like halls, like reverbs and stuff. So
Mhm.
like they're taking the impulse response from these rooms and they're making them like something digital that I can use as a tool. Like I don't have to go to Carnegie Hall and record something, and I can just find it on my computer
Oh yeah.
and use
I
that
think
reverb.
I actually think
So
on Covered in Clover we used some of the Ryman.
yes, we did. Yeah, I really love. I've actually never seen a show yet at the Ryman, but I use the reverb a lot.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
what
the
was it on?
reverb's
Was it
fun.
on vocals or was it on something else? I forget what it was.
It was likely on maybe strings or horns or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. It could have been. I can't remember, but yeah, likely. I probably used it instrumentally.
The Ryman is a venue in Nashville. It's a very like
Yeah, so it used to be the old, uh, the the old Opry, the Grand Ole Opry. That's the original Grand Ole Opry was the Ryman.
mhm.
Um, yeah,
So
so that's
basically what we basically did was digitally made the reverb of the tracks that we recorded in Seattle sound like the reverb that may
in
have
the,
sounded like the Grand Old Opry
yeah,
way back when.
yeah, which is kind of crazy. Like technology blows my mind.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah,
But you can't do that in a live setting necessarily.
well, there are more, well, sort of. I mean, you already have natural reverb in a live setting, so you shouldn't really add to that necessarily if it's already really reverby, because that can just like make things not very clear. Um, but yeah, there's technology where you can use a lot of those similar um, plugins that I used uh, in like a live console. Um, but yeah.
Okay, so let's so upcoming this summer
Hmm.
you are doing you get to do the same live stuff for the war and treaty.
Right. Yep. Um, so I'll be going on tour with them for about I think about a month. Yeah. Um, they're a they're an 8 piece, which is a lot like of inputs to think about and stuff. And definitely like I mean I took it on as a I feel like it'll help me grow as a engineer and um so having that many, I'm used to like a 5 piece band, maybe six, occasionally seven. Um, so like having that amount and having to think about what's all important, what all should be heard at that moment in time. Um, yeah, it's a lot to think about. I got to mix them um, once for a fly day in Detroit. Um, they were 7 piece. They're adding another horn, but yeah, it's like again, like I get to mix some trumpet, some saxophone, organ, pedal steel, drums, bass, acoustic guitar, some keyboard, and they have like a like they're like co-leads, the front
Mhm.
people. Uh, yeah, so that's also a different thing. Like you don't often a lot of bands don't have co-lead singers, so you know their voices are just as important um you know together. um they need
They're
to be out
and
there.
also like when they perform live, they're like just so dynamic. Like
Yeah,
they're
they're very
so fun to watch, like as an
yeah they're
audience member.
very
So
dynamic, really fun group. Yeah,
mhm, mhm.
yeah, very. I mean, and they all can like shred. They're great musicians, like technically too.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah, and their live show is so much different than their current recordings. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, when you go out into the world
Mm-hmm.
as a female audio engineer who knows her stuff, what do you have to prepare yourself with? And
Um,
like how do you have to like um I should say what do you have to prepare yourself for?
okay. Yeah. Well, like the typical stuff like that anybody has to compare not compare prepare themselves for like a lot of tours I've been on have been kind of still budgeted, so we don't get to bring a board of my choosing. So I have to advance that and figure out what I'm working on, because it could be a board I've never touched. And I mean, the concepts are all the same, but like where they put things is all different. It's sort of like, um, if you were switching from Windows to Mac to whatever, like it's a little different, but it's the same concepts, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I have to sort of prepare myself for that. I'll read like manuals and like watch some like videos, like tutorial videos on the boards in advance. So I know kind of the basics. And then a lot of times the house sound engineer will also help me if I have questions or tell me, because everybody can like put things also, like digital boards are very customizable. So they can put things like where I wouldn't put things, and um, they can route things all different. So having the house engineer there to direct me when I'm needing direction
Mhm.
is good. I mean,
Is it
sometimes
is it strange to like walk into a place? I mean, I'm also specifically talking like, is it strange to be a female audio engineer and walk into a place at, and have to like go like, hey, I'm the boss, or like I'm
yeah,
the one, like I'm the one taking care of my team here, you know?
right. Yeah, oftentimes I get mistaken for like the singer. I walk in and they're like, "Okay, so you're the singer, right?" And I'm like, "I'm the audio engineer." And I also have like, I'm not like your typical uh audio engineer, like sound engineer, in the sense like a lot of them, I'm not gonna like, but I am gonna do this. But a lot of them are like kind of uptight, and I try to be. I have a calmer sort of aura to me, I think, and I think
You're
that can be
very chill.
helpful.
You're very chill.
Right. I think, yeah. And I think that can be helpful for the musicians, because if I'm not freaking out and like mean or like uptight or whatever, then they're chill. It's like um, energy is definitely something that is spread, so I have to be mindful of that myself, because I actually get anxious about a new room and a new board, and I'm like nervous, and I do get like performance anxiety in a way, which is super weird, because like people don't even see me, and half the time they don't even know I'm there. But like, you know they do know I'm there if something messes up or something sounds really bad. So um yeah, I'm kind of like, I try to like make it so people don't know I'm there in a way, by not making bad mistakes, or if we don't get signal on something and they look at me like, can't hear that. And that's my job, to make it heard. And of course there's always going to be technical issues, because we're dealing with technology here, which can be stressful,
Mhm.
you know but yeah, um most of the time I will say, and I've toured a lot. That's kind of where I've gotten most of my experience as a sound engineer, is touring and doing live sound. And I've met many people, and most of the time they're very encouraging to me. Um, but I think what bothers people most is that I'm young and I'm taking their position, sort of, and they're not. I mean, could be a female male thing, but I really think it's more like, who is this young, very young girl, and what is she doing? Does she even know what she's doing? She's really young. Like, I like younger than I am too, so that's not very helpful. But yeah, I kind of have that going for me too, that I'm young and also a girl. So and there's not a lot of female engineers. I don't, just so the public knows that. I think we're like 2%, 4% or something of, so yeah, not a lot of us. So it's not a common thing to see girls working in that field. So um
That's one of the
yeah.
reasons why, like, because I knew there was like an imbalance gender wise on this album, and I saw an opportunity, I was like, oh, here's somebody who has, looks like she's got like a great ear.
Mm-hmm.
She has the chops to like do this job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I want,
I feel
yeah,
like,
if I have a choice between like a girl or a guy to do this and they both have the chops, I want the girl to do it, because I want to, as a female myself, like I want to
yeah,
help
and
that
I
out,
think
like,
it's
because it
sure, and I think
shouldn't
it's,
be that way.
no, I agree. But I think it's like, we as females try to take each other under our wings, and
Yeah.
we're very much more like, I mean, we are competitive, I think, but not to the point, like guys tend to be a little more competitive. Um, but like we're like more encouraging and just kind of more um like I know I always, like, if I meet another girl, I'm like, hey, like, anything you ever have questions about, or like, I try to lift up and help other girls and stuff. And that might just be like who I am as a person too. But yeah, I don't know. I try to,
Well,
and
I
same
think,
guy. I offer them, like, if they are interested in um, like shadowing me, and they are interested in live sound, and they've never done live sound and they don't know much about it. Like I mean, I offer it, like, I try to take everybody under my wing. But yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's there's the saying rising tides lift all boats, and it's very true. So it's, it's true in this sense that, like, if you're listening to this and you are a musician or a songwriter and you have a choice for who you work with, you have power to change our industry
Yeah, you do.
in ways that you may not even think that you do. So even in just really teeny tiny ways. So even if it's just like saying, oh cool, great, a chick's gonna do
Yeah.
live sound tonight, cool, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
and I think, I mean, going through life with um no expectation that they're like, just go and do your thing and they'll do their thing, and hopefully it goes well.
yeah,
But yeah, um I
totally.
mean, there shouldn't ever be a, we as humans try to judge others. um that just happens, and it's unfortunate, because if we didn't judge a book by its cover, maybe we wouldn't be so closed down about um possibilities and potential in people, you know.
Mhm, mhm. Yep. It's so fascinating. Our brain really does need, like, to put things in envelopes, though. It's so weird.
Yeah, we want to group and label things and
Yeah,
organize things. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But it's so all this to say, guys, like, give yourself some new labels. Um
Or yeah, yeah, give yourself some new labels, or open your mind up to
yeah,
new things and possibilities.
yeah. And yeah, it's so great.
See,
Um
yeah, just because one thing's always this doesn't mean it has to always be this. So
this is very true. So I'm going to put some links to your stuff below, videos
cool.
and things, and there will be links. Um, and thank you so much for joining us today. I think this has been so much fun to have you here. And I'll see you at the end of your tour, because I will be playing at the last Folks Fest. I'll be
Yes.
playing at Folks Festival, which will be the last gig of the Warren Treaties
Bus
month-long
run.
tour.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we'll be we'll be in the same exact freaking city. That's crazy. At the same festival. Like we end.
I know.
Right. And we end where you're gonna be playing too.
It's amazing.
Playing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
be playing on Friday of the festival, and I think you guys are playing on Sunday of the festival. So we'll
Yeah,
miss
the
each other, but we'll
18th.
still be there.
Yeah. Okay.
It still
Yeah.
counts. It
Yeah, it
still
still
counts.
counts. That's so funny. I know. I was like, what? You're playing that too. What?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Awesome. You guys go check out Mackenzie's stuff, and go hire all the females for all the things. We're going to go change
Yes.
the world. Yes.
Yes, we need to.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Bye.
See ya.